What's up, everybody? John Eric Poli here with my MMA News, and today's guest will be fighting Norma Dumont in her UFC debut at UFC 279. That, of course, big fight card this weekend. Pleased today to be joined by Danyelle Wolf. Danyelle, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's talk here, all right? Debut, big fight in a division that's wide open. Just how excited are you to finally be making your UFC debut on a huge card like this? I'm sure you got to be absolutely ecstatic right now.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, everything's fallen into place. Weight's perfect, strength is perfect, speed's perfect. The camp has gone great. I've had such a great camp. I trained with Dominic Cruz, so he just had a fight a couple weeks ago. So I got to kind of go off that camp with all the training partners, the consistent training. So it was good. I got to have a little pre-camp before my camp. So it was perfect timing.
Now, for as much excitement as there is, I'm sure just about every fighter gets nervous being a debut, right? New promotion, big arena, the whole 9 yards. Any nerves that go into it, or does that kind of be something maybe closer to fight night if it happens at all?
Yeah, no, I never was someone that got nervous. I'm kind of like, I'm kind of, I guess crazy in this sense, people call me. But yeah, I don't get nervous. If anything, I get more calm. I was always like that. I almost get like too calm. My coaches, will be like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." They're like, "All right, well, wake up." It's not. I'm like, "I'm awake. I'm good." I get extra calm. I don't know if that's because I had a lot of boxing matches, um, or I'm just used to working hard, man. I work really hard. I own my own business. So I'm just used to, just diving in head first to challenges, and I do whatever it takes to come out, on top. And yeah, I'm just used to working hard, and I'm just used to taking on challenges. I'm used to adapting, and so I don't really get nervous, or people, might say like, "Oh, your first one's going to be at the T-Mobile Center in Vegas." It's like, well, if you're going to do something, like, why not? I'd rather fight in Vegas at the T-Mobile Center than fight in like York, Pennsylvania. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But no, I'd rather fight, on the biggest stage than, fight somewhere small. I mean, I'm doing this. I'm putting all my effort into this. I'm working my butt off. I'm cutting weight. Sacrificing a lot of time, energy, and money and everything into this. So why not fight on the biggest stage? So many people shy away from opportunities just because they don't think they're ready, or they're just nervous, or they're scared, or this person has more experience than me. And it's like, if your boss came up to you and said, "Hey, do you want this pay raise? Hey, do you want this promotion?" Are you going to be like, I think someone else might have more experience than me? No, man. Like, you can't live life like that. You got to be like, yeah, I'll take it. If I'm not ready, I'll freaking make myself ready. I'll do whatever it takes to be ready. Like, say yes. You got to say yes, and just go after it, and do the best you can, and put in the work. And you can be honest with yourself and tell yourself, like, am I giving 100%, or am I not? And I'm someone, I give 100% all the time in everything I do. So no nerves, more of just, this will be cool. This will be fun. I'm excited to see, to put myself, to the test on this. During COVID, during the Dana White Contender Series, I didn't feel I had everything that I needed to succeed. All the gyms were closed, all the training partners were out drinking, getting fat, and nobody was really training during that time. And so to pull together training partners, to pull together a camp, I mean, it was like impossible. We were sneaking in the back of gyms. Like, San Diego's really locked down. Cops were coming to gyms and making sure nobody was in them. So that first, fight, that just wasn't me. That wasn't who I am, and that's not how I would have prepared for a fight. I didn't have a camp. I didn't have coaches. I worked with a new coach, for 4 weeks for that. camp. I worked with another coach for like 3 weeks before the fight for that camp. I just came from boxing for a year. I was just boxing. I was only boxing that year because I won Olympic trials in 2019, in the beginning of 2019. So I only did boxing all year of 2019. So yeah, so I came back from that. And then it was just like, poof, you want the Contender Series? And it was like, yeah. And I'm trying to find a camp. All the gyms are closed. No one's training. What MMA coach should I have? I don't know. Like it was just, it was all I had at the time. And now I really feel confident that I have the best coaches right now. I had the best camp. I've had the best training partners. I worked my butt off with, strength and conditioning, with technique, with wall work, with groundwork, with kickboxing, with boxing, just with everything. I really did everything I could with what I would have chose was the best. So I feel very confident. My weight cut, again, the first time I had to go to 146, that was the first time I ever went down that low. So that was a learning experience as well. So that didn't go as smooth the first time. It did go smooth to do the cut, but the reload, the refuel is what I messed up on. So that was a learning experience. Now, like I'm already 156. I feel great. I'm still eating 4 meals a day. I feel amazing. I feel like I just nailed it, on diet this time. And yeah, I'm just really happy. I'm really happy with everything, the whole camp, the progress of everything, how much I've learned in this time, with all the different coaches I'm working with. And, I can honestly say this time that I did and got everything I needed to get the W. Last time it was a little bit like, ooh, I don't have the training partners. Can we pull this off? Like never worked with this coach before. It's only been 4 weeks. Like gyms are closed. We can't train today. We can't train tomorrow, but we'll go next. Like now I can say like this is how a training camp's supposed to be. So I'm very confident with that.
Yeah, and it sounds like obviously you've been putting in a lot of great work. You have a great camp with you right now. I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned, so Contender Series, when you got the contract, it was rushed. You were boxing, kind of got thrown into MMA, kind of. Now, obviously, we know, right? That was in 2020. That's obviously 2 years being off. How much of that was just getting ready to go to prepare yourself for an MMA fight from coming over from the sport of boxing? And just how much did you improve in that 2 year period of time?
Oh, so much. And you got to think, I mean, like I don't have the typical female career of learning MMA. A lot of people, they learn MMA, then they get a couple amateur fights, then they go to Invicta or PFL or, one of the smaller organizations to get their feet wet and to get some experience and, to get, just some experience in there under their belt. And, I feel my experience was a little bit different. I had 15 girls back out of amateur MMA fights, so I couldn't get any amateur MMA fights. And then, I was being contacted by, the biggest organizations in the world of MMA, Bellator, UFC. So it was just like, okay, if I'm going to go straight to the big leagues, I need more time to learn the sport, So I knew that. So I wanted to take my time. I didn't want to be just a one-trick pony of just being a boxer. I wanted to learn my ground game. I wanted to learn, jiu-jitsu. I wanted to learn all these things. So I did take my time doing that. And, as far as the past 2 years, I mean, after my first fight, having your fingers be in these gloves, like only this much of your finger sticks out. So my finger just totally went to the right. My index finger went all the way over like that. So it was just flopping around everywhere. Once I took the glove off, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know it was like that until I took the glove off. But yeah, so my whole finger, I broke joints. I broke joints and I broke tendons and ligaments, tore those. So that took like 6 months to heal. And when you don't have your, left hand, I mean, that's my jab. I grab stuff like, you can't do anything. So you can't do anything. So I was just doing a lot of strength training and just staying in shape and, building my business at the time. And then after that healed, then I boom jumped right into camp. Started training my butt off. UFC was like, "All right, are you ready?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "All right, we're gonna give you the co-main event." On Cody No Love's card. This was like last year, and I was like, "All right, I'm ready." My finger healed up. I've been training for the past few months. Let's do it. So they made me the co-main event on that card. And then 2 weeks before, I was like, "Hey, I want to get a different taste of like different training partners. Can we?" It was like 3 weeks before. I was like, "Can we just go to this other gym and see if we could spar and like drill and stuff with them just to get a different taste?" So I went to another gym, and during the training, drilling session, my this new training partner kind of just followed through with I think he's got a Murloc. I don't know. I'm not a jiu-jitsu whatever, but they snapped my arm and I tore my UCL. Yeah, so that was a bummer. So I tore that, and so then that took like, it was like 40% torn or 43% torn. So they said, do you want to get surgery or do you want to just let it grow back? So I was right on the brink of surgery or not surgery. So yeah, so then I just said no surgery, and that took like 8 months. So yeah, that was a bummer. And then right when that healed up, boom, I was training with one arm, so I couldn't use my right arm. That's where I tore my UCL. So I was just doing everything with my left arm and kicking, and I actually improved a lot my kicking, and my jab became a machine gun, and so it was good. But that's MMA. Injuries come with MMA, and that was 2 years. So there's some injuries, there's lots of training, and it's just making sure that you're prepared and ready, and yeah.
Yeah, well, it's no nice to see that you're finally healed up. That sucks. He had those unfortunate injuries like that there, and like I said, we're glad we're gonna finally get to see you fight now. Here's gonna be a big question that you're gonna get asked probably a million times during this fight week. So I'll go ahead. I'll be the first person to ask it to you. Everybody knows your stand-up's gonna be very, very tough for anybody with that boxing background. You said you spent a lot of time working on the clinch and the grappling and all that. How's that part of your game really come along? Because anybody that comes into the sport from a stand-up game, that is obviously the hardest part to learn because you're not used to doing it.
Yeah, I've been a well-rounded athlete my whole life. Like growing up, I played field hockey, basketball, track, soccer, softball. I did the heptathlon and track. I picked up boxing when I was 25 years old. In just 1 year, I made Team USA and became national champion for 4 years in a row. I pick up things really fast. So yeah, it's I kind of know my body. I know how to hold my weight. I know how to learn and adapt really quick. I've been taking instructions on sports my entire life. So yeah, that's all we do. All we do is wall work, groundwork, getting up, anti jiu-jitsu, anti wrestling, and yeah. So that's obviously our main focus. And I train at Alliance MMA, and they're all wrestlers. So you train with lions, you become a lion. So that's exactly why I trained there, is because it's wrestling based, and they do everything like anti jiu-jitsu. So yeah, I feel really confident. Coach Eric and Coach Nick, they're amazing. Wrestling coaches, and Dominic Cruz and all those guys. It's very wrestling heavy and anti jiu-jitsu.
And I do want to ask too, from the boxing background, how much of that carries over into MMA? Because I know that the striking, even though obviously there's a lot of similarities with it, there are few things that are a little bit different. So just how much of it did translate over to MMA?
Oh man, like all of it. But see, this is the thing. I've seen a lot of boxers like try to cross over to MMA, but weren't, that successful. I think if you're a boxer and a well-rounded athlete, I think that's where it crosses over. I think if you're just a boxer and you're not this, multifaceted, athletes, then it's not gonna work. You have to be a well-rounded athlete to do MMA. I'll never forget when I was on Team USA. We were this one day our coaches were like, yeah, you guys can go play basketball as you're like, this is your day off, but it's your rest day, but you're like doing something. And I was like, oh heck yeah, let's all play ball. So we all go to the gym, and I'm thinking that like everyone's gonna know how to play basketball, right? No, not one teammate, and I was like the only white girl on the team. I'm thinking like, oh, everyone's gonna have ball skills, everybody's gonna be a baller. Not at all. Like I was like, throw the ball, like someone they like get, and I'm like, go get the like dribble, the double dribbling. I'm like, what is going on? And like just absolutely no coordination with basketball. And I'm like, what? I was just so dumbfounded that day. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, I couldn't believe like if you were like a boxer and that takes so much cardio conditioning and all this stuff that you could be so uncoordinated in basketball. I couldn't believe it. I'm just like, no, if you're good at one sport, you're great at them all, right? Because that's how I've been my whole life. So yeah, it was just really funny like to see that. But anyway, to MMA from boxing, I just feel like you can't just be a boxer, man. Like you gotta be able. Same thing with running. Like some of the people on my team, like we would do sprint workouts or long distance running, and like they just couldn't do it. Like I don't run. It's like you don't run. Like you don't do sprints. You don't do hill sprints. You don't do no. I just box. Like okay, but yeah, I mean, everyone has their own styles and stuff like that. But for MMA, man, MMA is a beast, and it's not like boxing. And it's funny because when I was a boxer, people would always say, "Oh, you don't play boxing," But now that I do MMA, it's like, "Oh no, 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 you don't play MMA." Like MMA is, because people say I play baseball, I play this, I play basketball. So the inside joke in boxing is like you can't play boxing because it's like hardcore, And now that I do MMA and I'm a boxer, you can't play MMA. Okay, it's the real deal. But being a boxer with being a well-rounded athlete, I think that is my strength. Is that I'm really good at adapting to any sport. I'm really good at, speed, fast twitch. What boxing has given me is my range, my distance, my fast twitch. And I mean, to set a takedown up, you have to get in there, to get somebody on the ground in jiu-jitsu, you got to get in there, So if somebody knows their range, their distance, and they have good hands, I mean, that's going to give them problems.
100%. And now I do want to ask a little about UFC 279 before we start wrapping things up here. Obviously, you mentioned, right, very confident. You had a great training camp. Feel now is the time for you here. Just talk about your opponent a little bit, what you've kind of seen out of her. Obviously, she's very experienced, the game opponent. So just what have you seen out of her and your thoughts on the matchup and how you see things going down on fight night?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really focus on my opponent. I really don't. I trust my coaches. I trust in my coaches of what they tell me we need to work on and what we need to focus on that day. And that's really my main focus is just being the best that I can be, every day, with strength, conditioning, with speed, with cardio, arm cardio, kicking, groundwork, wall work, with everything. I just do the best that I can do. We fit in as much as we can fit in every day. I mean, I train 3 times a day. My coaches always want me to train once or twice, but I always put in 3. I'll get in trouble for saying that, but yeah, I train as much as I possibly can. I'm really good at balancing that and balancing sleep and diet and everything. But yeah, I don't really focus on her, or what she's doing or her style or her history. I focus on what my coaches have studied and tell me that we're doing that day. And then I just go 100%.
All right, so I know that we're kind of starting to run out of time here on our Zoom call, so I do want to wrap things up today, talking a little bit about what we have in common here. Both Pennsylvanians, right? I'm in Scranton right now. I know obviously you're out in California now, but you were born in York. I went to Lock Haven University. You went to Millersville. Obviously, those two teams, right, compete against each other. So I
Yeah.
do want to end by talking about all that. Just what was the experience like of growing up here in Pennsylvania and competing at Millersville, where you did field hockey, you did track and field. You're quite the athlete there. So just tell everybody about the Pennsylvania experience.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I came from a very humble beginning, I grew up in the country, I had the same bus driver as my mom. So my mom went to the same high school that I went to, had the same bus driver, and then I had that same bus driver. And I was just like, I am not going to allow my kids to have the same bus driver that me and their grandma would have. The day I would have kids, but I'd always joke around and be like, if I ever have kids, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna have the same bus driver that I had and then my mom had. And I'm like, I'm out of here. This is too small town for me. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I went to Eastern York High School, and I mean, we would get off for hunting season and like opening day fishing season and all this
That's
stuff.
still a
And
thing in Pennsylvania too. That's still a thing in
yeah,
Pennsylvania.
I know. And, we had snow days and, like I said, to you earlier, like our biggest vacation was like, 3 hour drive to like Ocean City, Maryland, the boardwalk, and now I was just like, man, like I want to see the world. I want to work my butt off so that I can afford nice things. I want to have my own business. I want to live where it's warm weather year round. I want to, have all these things and do all these things and accomplish all this stuff. And, after I graduated college, I came out here. I discovered a new sport, boxing, after college around 25. I got to be on Team USA for 4 years. I got to travel all around the world and see the world, which I never had before. And then after that, I started MMA after that. And then around the same time, I decided to start my own business in real estate. And I managed like, first one property, then two, then three, then four, then five, then six, and all the way up to 25 properties. And, then after that, I was able to save enough money to buy a threeplex here in Pacific Beach. And then 5 months later, which was just 2 days ago, I closed on my second threeplex here in Pacific Beach at the beach. And I have 8 workers today working on that unit, and I leave in like 3 days. And I'm just juggling a lot of things, but it's really cool. It's very rewarding to, come from such a humble background. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And, so I worked my butt off, my whole life. And, like to go to college, like our parents didn't just pay for college. I worked my butt off every summer so that I could get a full ride, with athletics. And then after college, I came out here, and again, I worked my butt off. And then I made Team USA, and I was doing that and not making any money doing that. And then when they didn't add my weight class in the Olympic Games in 2016, which I would have went to, but my weight class wasn't added. So then I had to kind of pursue a new direction with fighting if I wanted to, actually do something more with it. So that's when I crossed over to MMA. But yeah, I started my own real estate business. I finally am in the game and able to play adult Monopoly, as I call it. But it's fun, man. I love art. I'm really artistic. I love remodeling houses and having these visions and seeing them, come to life. Is really cool. And then being able to rent them out and see cash flow, and it's cool, man. I love it. So between that, and fighting, it's my two favorite things. I get to be creative. I get to use my business mentality, and then at the same time, I get to work out and train and learn new aspects in fighting. And it's just awesome. Life's cool, man. Like you can do whatever you want. You just got to take the risk and jump in head first and just figure it out along the way. And that's how I live in real estate and this. So it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, Danielle, I could tell that you are definitely extremely busy with all of that going on there. And thanks again for all the time here today. I really appreciated everything. One last thing, though, before you roll out. social media management sponsors. Anybody you got to give a shout out to? Floor is yours. You get the last word.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Instagram is at Danyelle Wolf. So you can follow that on Instagram. If you want to check out some videos, it's danyellewolf.com. But yeah, check it out, say hello, and I'll see you guys next week on the Nate Diaz card.
All right, Danyelle, thanks again so much for all the time here today. Really appreciate it. I appreciate everyone that watched today's interview as well. So thank you guys for watching. If you like today's interview, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already. And keep going to MyMMANews.com, checking out all of our great work that we have that comes out there. Go to our social media pages, give us a like and a follow on there as well. We'll see you later, everybody.